What's the pros and cons of quitting? Like, I really believe that, right? Like, if you're gonna fucking quit right now, put it out on the line. What is the pros of quitting for you right now?
You know, when stuff gets super hard in life, I feel like the most difficult thing ever is to not let fatigue or fear turn you into a coward.
That's for sure something that I really truly believe, that it's one of those things is, I don't know, it's hard to explain, like, and everyone has reached this point too, like, and I'll use this example, 150 wall balls per time.
Yeah.
Right? You're doing 150 wall balls per time as fast as you can. And it's one of those things where your legs are hurting so fucking bad, your chest hurts because you're breathing heavy, and it's one of those things where it's like, all right, I've already gotten through 50 wall balls. What is another 10 gonna do? Okay, cool. I got through another 10. All of a sudden, you're like, all right, I'm at 70. I need a break. So all of a sudden, you stop, right? Like, is that something that's considered quitting, or is that just being smart in how you approach it, so you know that you're managing your fatigue and then you're able to go ahead and continue moving, right? Or is it one of those things where it's like, fuck this workout, I'm not going to do 150 wall balls, I'll do 70 and then call it quits?
Right. I think for me, like, you have to figure out, you got to, like, determine the outcome of the situation before you get into it. You know, it's kind of like with the ultra thing. It's like, you know, I say this all the time, but one of the things when I coach people on running an ultra is, like, don't ever start looking for a reason to quit. Like, only look for reasons to finish, because you started it for a reason. You know that it's something that you want to do. You know you want to be the person that finished this race, right? And you have to decide that before you get into the thick of things, before it gets, like, real shitty. Because if you start looking for a reason, and I think ultra is such a good example because it's so fucking hard, if you start looking for a reason, you will find it. Like, there are so many reasons to quit. Like, they're out there. If you look, you'll find one, and you will talk yourself off of that ledge in no time.
No shit. It's funny you said that, because I was actually on the mountain yesterday. A buddy of mine, David, we've been training together. He's getting ready for Leadville 100. It's the same weekend, and we were actually talking about that because of the fact that he's only DNF'd, like, I don't know if he's DNF. We're talking about DNFing in general. And, you know, he was talking about, he's like, man, he's like, when you do a DNF, dude, it changes fucking everything. And I'm like, I haven't experienced that yet, right? You know, but at the same time, it is in my head. It's been there. It's always in your head. It's always that fear, right? So it's like, and you said it yourself, like, quitting and finding a reason to quit, like, don't find one, because then you are going to, right? But is there a difference with me thinking, like, I'm afraid of DNFing and I'm afraid of fucking quitting, right? Like, I'm afraid of that. So if I don't think about it, is it going to happen? Or if I do think about it, it helps me keep myself out of the position of not quitting.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, like, I have to go so a DNF, for people that are listening to this that aren't aware, DNF is did not finish. So that's when you wouldn't finish a race for whatever reason. Could be medical, could be you quit, could be whatever. There's a lot of DNF.
Time cutoffs. I
mean, look, I fucking DNF'd on my second ultra ever, so I ripped that Band-Aid off, like, right away.
But the thing is, though, is, like, you went in there and you put the pedal to the metal and just, like, fuck it, I'm going for broke.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, you were okay with the DNF because of the fact that you laid it all out there.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I wasn't. I mean, it still sucked, you know, but I think that is the only way to walk away from a race happy or content, and that's really regardless of the outcome. But if you know that you just fucking put it all on the line, like, that's the only way you're going to smile walking away from that bitch, no matter what the outcome was, right? If you gave everything you have to this thing, you can't ask of any more of that. You know what I mean?
No. It goes back to the you know, the champion's mindset, right? Talking about, like, what ifs. Like, do I have, if I can look at my DNF, or if I quit something and I go ahead and put on the board what ifs, and if I'm able to start putting down, like, reasons, like, what ifs behind it, I think you probably fucking quit for no reason, in the wrong way. Yeah. But if you go up there and you write what if and you're like, man, I can't put anything underneath that at all, fuck it. Like, I laid it on the line. I'm okay with it happening. And that kind of goes into the whole ultra realm, right? You have athletes who talk about getting into these tough fucking races in the world. I mean, let's talk about Hard Rock 100. It's a 100-mile race that goes through the mountains of the San Jacinto mountain range, right up in Colorado.
Yep.
And it has 33,000 feet of elevation gain and descent. Mm-hmm. Like, that's huge, right? And we can even talk about a 200-mile race, and we can talk about all those things, but it becomes one of those things where you're like, all right, if I do DNF due to the fact, or if I quit in some instance because of medical, because of this or whatever else, I can look back at it and know that I did give my 110% effort in that realm, compared to being like, oh, I'm mile 10 in and I just quit because I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. So, I think we have to kind of specify, like, there are times when quitting's not quitting, right? So if you're doing a pull-up workout on Tuesday that's got 100 pull-ups in it and you start to rip, it might make sense in that instant to quit. Like, there's not really a lot of nobility in tearing your fucking hands off on a Tuesday when you can't train for the rest of the week or whatever. You know what I mean? And maybe there is. I don't know. But I think that's certainly a different problem than going into like a bucket list item, like 100-miler or whatever. You know what I mean? So I remember on the race that I DNF'd at, I got to mile 57 in rough fucking shape. Like, I already had stress fractures. I had explosive diarrhea. I was vomiting, like chafing. I'm telling you, I was rough, dude. And the race director at mile 57 or 58, he was like, hey man, so you're not going to make the time cutoff for the next one, like if you want to just stop here. And I just looked at him like he literally shot my dog. I was like, no fucking way am I quitting, dude. Like, you're asking me to quit right now? He's like, you're not going to make it. And I'm like, I'm going to die trying. I don't know what else to tell you. And so, so I literally pushed off out of that aid station with no hope at all of finishing this thing, just to do another 13 miles. But, like, I had to decide in that moment that, like, I had to decide before that moment that I'm not, come hell or high water, I'm not fucking quitting. And look, like, it got to hell in high water. You know what I mean? Sometimes it'll get there and you've already decided you're not going to quit. So I don't care the toll. I don't care the pain. I don't care what happens. I'm not quitting. It's like that one scene in The Wolf of Wall Street. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
He's like, I ain't fucking leaving. It's that part. I ain't fucking leaving. That's exactly how you have to be, man. Like, I swear, if you try to decide to be that person in the moment when it already hurts, you're done. Very few people are that strong, I think.
But that's the question, though, is like, do we surround ourselves with those types of people, or do we just be able to manage those type of people in our life? Because, realistically, like, that does leave, some kind of level of balance of being like, oh, if I'm just around people who are positive every single time and don't have the no quit mentality, like, does that hinder me in a way, or does it not? Because I look at that as also too, it's like, well, if I be around a group of people who are always positive and never quitting and are literally going till the brink of like, I'll either die or I'm going to complete this, it goes back to the whole idea between of like aggression equals gain, or is it gentle mindset warrior to get me in the right realm, right? Because I look at someone, for instance, we'll have someone who quits an ultra, just because they wanted to quit, because they just felt they didn't believe in themselves, right? Like, that's another type of quitting because you had no confidence going into something. Well, unfortunately, you probably had that lack of confidence before even signing up for the race.
Yeah, probably. It just got exposed.
It just got exposed once you got put into an uncomfortable position. Well, so yeah, go for it. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, commenting on that. Like, I've seen people quit in ultras. Like, man, those things will fucking defeat you, man. Like, it's just so much pain that, like, I've just seen people so defeated. Like, I remember in that 100 that I was talking about that I DNF'd, when I got to the aid station, we were getting ready to head into the canyon at mile 42, and I'd been with this guy all night, and we're talking, and I'm like, all right, buddy, let's do this. And he's like, nope. I was like, what? He's like, I'm not. I'm done. And I just looked like pure defeat in his face. Like, this guy's soul was just gone. And I was like, all right, well.
And you didn't even notice at all while running together? You had no idea.
He was like falling apart, you mean? Yeah, not really, yeah. It's an internal battle that his internal monologue was probably fucked,
That's so funny you say that, dude, because I've experienced that plenty of times with guys, like going through like selection or going through just schools like that, and then also being an instructor at the schoolhouse where you're thinking this dude is fucking rock star and killing it and doing so well, and then all of a sudden you look to the left and it's just here is like DOR, which is want to quit, and or you just see someone I know just being like, this ain't for me, I gotta go. And you're like, what? Like, you're fucking smashing this right now. What are you talking about? And it came down to just the fact of them setting unrealistic expectations for themselves, and they weren't meeting them, but they were meeting the expectations plus more of the standard they had to fucking pass.
Yeah. Yeah, right? I don't know if we've talked about this on the show before, but like I know one of the things, like with me as an instructor, it was interesting because we would have these kids that would be like grow up in broken home, inner city, scrappy kids. They have been dealing with adversity their whole entire fucking life. And then we'd get these kids that, like, I remember this one guy played football at Harvard, was on the Olympic alternate team. Like, this guy just crushed everything he did, and he quit an indoc. And it's like, hasn't even fucking gotten hard yet, man. Like, where are you going? But it's like, I don't think there's a certain element of, you know, everything has come easy, so he's never had to deal with that adversity.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said, like, it's not that we would want anybody to grow up in a broken home, but like, there's something to be said for having adversity in your life and the way that you deal with it later on. Yeah,
it's funny you brought that up too, because a buddy of mine, Kyle, really good friend of mine, he has a buddy, he does individual programming, he has an athlete getting ready to pick up in Ranger School, and the question he asked me was like, hey, do you think it's smart to have an athlete go into keto, right? Go into ketosis, go into selection? And, you know, in my head, it brought me right back to a position like this very day. I remember this like the fucking back of my hand. And this goes with the story, is the fact that I remember we were on our in BRC, base reconnaissance course, patrol phase, where they're on one of the patrols. And the one kid, this kid's a stud throughout the whole course. You know, he's an athlete. He eats well. He does all this stuff. And what he ended up doing was he ended up hindering himself because he was on a strict diet going into the schoolhouse. And when it came time to go ahead and like get into that aspect of sleep deprived and have to eat what's in front of me and be able to accomplish the adverse conditions he's in, he crumbled because he let the stressors of not being able to eat clean get to him. Right. And it brought me back to the idea is like, why would we set an athlete up for failure in that realm when we're just trying to make them as resilient as possible so they don't have any excuses to fucking quit in the back end. Right. And that's kind of the same thing here. Like you said, right. We see those kids that are from broken homes. We see these kids who go to a Division I school and everything else and eat super clean. And all of a sudden you're like, well, there's different types of soft and there's different types of hard. And how do you differentiate the two of them? Right. It's like, you know, because we do see kids that are like that. Now, today, we have kids in the world today, right, is the fact that they are some of the softest fucking human beings that we've seen now.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, there's definitely, you know, the pussification of America is definitely a real thing that's taking place right now. I mean, it is what it is. But, like, I think that's where you have to differentiate. So when you're talking, like, about training somebody for Ranger School, like the tactical athlete, you know, firefighters, police, like their training, their arena is stress, right? Like what they're going into is the stress. That's like where it's the tactical athlete and the athlete, in my opinion, really, there's a huge dichotomy in how you get those two people ready for an event because, you know, when you have an athlete, there's so many more controllables, right? Yep. Like when I would know this all the time. It's like, you know, you would be, you're deployed in Africa trying to get big off like ramen noodles and MREs. You know what I mean? Like, you're a completely different animal. Like, you're training for a completely different thing. So, although you're both athletes, that's almost where it stops, you know?
Yeah, because you have to be able to differentiate, like, you know, how do I handle and build the resiliency for the stress that I'm going to be enduring 24/7 compared to the athlete who's going to be that non-stress athlete going into that environment. And again, because the way I look at it is in environmental stressors in selection are compared to the athlete who goes to a CrossFit Regionals competition where they know that they're going to be able to walk off that floor and be fine compared to someone who's going to selection who might not know if they're coming out of the pool that day.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like those kinds of ideas, like those are kind of the mindset and those are the kind of the stressors that we see. So that goes back to the whole idea of like, okay, so what stops me from quitting when I get into those situations?
Yeah, I mean, and for me, I've thought about this a lot, to be honest with you, because I try to do some pretty difficult things constantly. And the thing for me, I remember this like clear as day, and I don't talk a ton about the military or whatever, but going through our selection, I remember going into it, I made the decision, like, if I fucking bleed out of my eyes, I will die, I don't care, I'm not quitting. Like, I had such a chip on my shoulder, and I still take that attitude into really hard things because it really does serve me. But I remember I was a pretty good runner. I was a pretty good swimmer. Like nothing had really pushed me so far. I think it was our first or second, like the end of our second week of selection, and nothing had really pushed me. And so I hadn't stress tested this idea yet. Will I die for this? And I remember we had this evolution called the brick tread, and they still do it, but it's way more watered down now, no pun intended. But basically what you do now is, or what you did then, is you had a brick in your hand and you had to tread it for 5 minutes, but you had to wear boots and camis, and you weren't allowed to egg beater, you had to scissor kick. And so you had to do it for 5 minutes, and then they'd be like, okay, brick out of the water. When they said that, the brick had to be out of the water. And then so then you take all that, and then we had goggles on, and we had to fill our goggles up with water too. So now you're kind of panicky, and if you breathe in, it feels like you're fucking drowning if you accidentally breathe in through your nose. And so you have like constant drip of pool water in the back of your throat while you're putting out trying to keep this fucking brick. And you can't see anything because of the damn water in your goggles. And I mean, we lost 11 people in 5 minutes. Like, that's how many people quit in this evolution. And I remember, it just sounds like chaos, and that's what they do in the schoolhouse environment. They make it this like controlled chaos. So there's instructors yelling all over you, or yelling all over the place. And I hear people quitting left and right. And they were like, hey, if you swim to the side of the pool, it's a nonverbal DOR. So nonverbal drop on request, for those of you that don't know. Like, basically you quit if you swim to the side of the pool. And so people left and right were quitting by swimming to the side of the pool because they felt like they were going to fucking die. And I remember I started losing oxygen. I started not being able to keep my fucking face above the water anymore. And I distinctly remember a come to Jesus moment with myself where I was like, I looked at the side of the pool, and then I looked at the instructor, and I was just like, you go down with a ship. Fuck it. And I had 2 more kicks, started to black out, and right as I did, they blew the whistle and fucking grabbed me and brought me to the side of the pool because the evolution was over. And I was just sitting there my whole world, every once in a while you have these moments in life that just rock you to your core where you have a realization, and it was like, holy fuck. I just had that realization, I was willing to die for this. I'm never gonna fucking quit, and there's nothing anybody here could ever make me do that will make me quit. And I think sometimes if what you want to do is really, really difficult, that you have to sort of come to that mindset before you even go into it, because then when it comes time to go down with the ship, that's exactly what you got to be able to fucking do. And that is a moment, that's a decision that's you're not going to be able to make in the moment, dude, because it fucking sucks. You know what I mean?
Oh, man. Dude, you telling those stories brings back so many memories of just being at selection and teaching students and all that other good stuff. But
I just see you smiling. I mean, the thing is, selection's the best example for that kind of a environment, because it's literally designed to stress people out so bad that they either get inoculated or quit. Yeah.
I like to say smile in the face of misery.
Yeah.
Just smile. And people are like, George, you smile so much.
Yeah.
That's just how that's my emotional response to pain, misery, and suffering is me smiling. And but no, dude, so let's go ahead and translate that from selection.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and move that into lifestyle of okay, cool, I need to get my health better. I need to go ahead and fix my marriage. I need to go ahead and look in those realms, or just fix a relationship with something, and not wanting it to quit no matter how fucking shitty it gets. Right. And I'm pretty sure we're going to use examples going back to ultras and selection and all that good stuff. But it's one of those things where, a lot of us look at that, right? It's hey, when is it the right time to pull the plug in life for certain things? And when is the right time to actually hold on and keep fucking fighting? Because again, those things are completely different, right? So I'll use an example. I'm gonna get a little deep here. We've talked about my grandmother before, and if you guys haven't noticed, my grandmother was my fucking world, was my rock. That was who she was to me. And it came down to me making the decision to either let her go ahead and stay on life support in hospice, or we go ahead and move her to hospice and pull off life support and let her just control her life and let her have that control herself. And, back in the past, it'd be hard for me to speak about this, but it comes down to now that, right? Because of the fact that I'm pulling the plug for somebody who is fighting, right? And I give them no chance to truly fight for themselves, right? And I look at that and put myself in that position. It's well, if I'm in that position, if I didn't have that chance to really fight for myself, then that's wrong. I believe that I need that. Right. So right there and then in that position, I was am I going to go ahead and let her control her life on her own? Or am I going to go ahead and just go ahead and leave her on life support and see if this life support is going to go ahead and just keep her going when she wants to quit then? right? Because she's like, you know, it's fine to give up. It's time to give up. It's time to give up. And I made that decision to go there was to be like, hey, let's go ahead and pull off life support and let's move her to hospice so that she's able to control her outcome. If she wants to continue living longer, she can go ahead and live longer and manage that pain and manage that suffering and how she wants to, and we'll support her around it. Or if she's ready to throw the towel in. And that's what I did, right? And it put me in that realm of being like, oh, wow, like we are really, truly in control of if we quit or if we fight. You know, that hit home for me right there and then. When my grandmother passed away, and I gave her back her control of how she wanted to, and how this ended. I realized in that time moment it was an eye opener, knowing that hey, I have the control to either fight or to quit. Right, and I feel like a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't realize like, hey, like you can fight. You're meant to endure. You're meant to keep fighting. Right. Just keep fucking doing it. Right. It's just, and here comes the ultra fucking example, right? Like I had a conversation with Dave on the trails. Like when you run with friends, you have conversations that get pretty deep. And we talked about this, you know, he's like, when you get to mile 70 is where the make and break happens. If you're going to quit or if you're going to complete this race. And then mile 80 comes around and you're like, I have fucking 20 miles left. It's all downhill from here. Right. And all of a sudden mile 90 comes in and it's like, I've already gone 90 miles. I have fucking 10 miles left. Right. Right. You know, so it goes back to that same idea of like, all right, I'm this far into this. Why am I going to go ahead and just fucking give up right there and then and make it that simple and just give up after I've worked so hard for something? So, you know, talking about like my grandmother and how that roams, and I'm probably not making sense too much because it's one of those topics that really hit home for me. But right then and then, being able to give her back the control if she wanted to fight or quit was a real eye opener of knowing that, hey, you know, like we shouldn't take that control from anybody, right? Like you have the control of it. And it's just one of those things, man. It's really hard to really just convey it as a whole because of the fact of like, you know, it's quitting or it's fighting. Mm-hmm. Right. And you make that choice already going into the realm of it. Right. You already go into that realm of, all right, I'm going into this. I'm going to fight all the way fucking through it. Or I'm going to go ahead and go into this. Or I'm going to just test it out and see if it's OK. And if it's for me, I'm going to finish it. If it's not for me, I can just quit. But think about how that makes you fucking live life also now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a firm believer of how you do one thing is how you do all things, you know? Are you the kind of person that quits when it gets super difficult or not? And, you know, one thing this is interesting, and this is maybe not where I thought the conversation would go, maybe ever on here. But, you know, you're saying this story about your grandmother, and, you know, one of the things that makes me believe that humans have a soul is the idea that we have so much fucking fight in us. There's so much energy, right? Everything in life is energy. I mean, what they're doing right now with quantum physics, they're getting down to a very molecular level. They're finding out that atoms matter. The things that we think matter in this world are actually energy. It's actually vibration. And I don't know, you know, where that ends up going, but this idea that everything is energy. So for me, it's like there's so much, you know, no matter what you believe, there's so much fucking fight in us. There's so much energy contained in the human spirit. There's no fucking way that goes nowhere, right? Everybody knows energy doesn't stop, right? It can only be transformed. And yeah, so that's what made me think. We have so much willpower and ability to fight. I mean, I've read a lot of books from you know, Viktor Frankl on Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Holocaust survivor. I've read a ton of their books, and it's like when they're describing like the fucking awful conditions of their life had become, you know, these people that are in Auschwitz and in these concentration camps, the fact that they could essentially find meaning in that and that they could essentially suffer through that and not quit. I mean, and you know, they talk about a lot of people that did, a lot of people that gave up living. And this idea that we have so much power, we have so much ability to fight through hard things. I just don't know if enough people
believe it.
Yeah, or introduce it to themselves.
Well, that's funny. That's the word I was looking for, right? Because the story I didn't talk about was the whole year that she stayed alive on her own after my grandfather passed away, that they were married for fucking 75 years. Dude, like you lose your loved one after 75 years and you fight for a year long and all of a sudden now you're gone. And when we pulled her off life support and let her do her own thing, she fought for another 24 hours on her own. Mm. Right. And when you say spirit and the energy, whenever we came into the room, it was positive energy for her to continue believing that we were doing something right and we were helping her out and we were giving her that fight. And we realized after a while, it's like, all right, hey guys, like she's fighting for us right now. you know, and like realistically, she's done so much in her life so far. She's given us everything. And each one of us, my aunt and myself, walked in and gave her peace offering, and hey grandma, it's okay to go ahead and go now. Like, you've done everything. You've set me up for success. You've taught me the world. And she did it also. And an hour later, my grandmother passed away.
Yeah. Just
by helping her. And again, it goes through the energy, right? Because we kept bringing this positive energy into her room, and she kept fighting for us when she's been fighting for us for the rest of our life. When it came to the point of like, hey grandma, we understand your willpower is there. Like, you don't have to prove it to no one else anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that fucking willpower is instilled in me right now. Like, that is instilled in me. And like, that's a lot of things that a lot of people don't hear all the time. And to be able to be like, okay, cool, change the energy and give her this sense of relief, right, was huge. So it goes back to the whole idea of like, hey, being able to put energy out there. I mean, again, like we go and talk about, the mind's a fucking amazing thing, dude. It is an amazing, powerful thing, and it is a driver to everything we do in life.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, it kind of goes back to this idea that I honestly don't think enough people put themselves. So many people, you know, I just recorded a podcast about it, a solo show, but so many people ask me, like, how are you possibly doing this like 250-mile run that I'm doing in body armor? And I'm like, for me, it's not as big of a leap in, like, believability, because I put myself in such fucked up hard situations, and I know for sure I always endure. Like, you figure it out. Your body adapts. It will do exactly what you fucking tell it to do almost all the time. It might not be easy. It might hurt like hell, and it might take a really long time. You know, for me, it's about 36 hours before my body, like, switches into, okay, I can do this mode, when I'm talking about running. But, you know, but, like, you know, because that's one thing I realized in my 200. It was, like, for the first, you know, 36 hours, it was just, like, the pain waves were just coming and coming. It just hurt more. It was, like, deep in the bone pain. And then, you know, I get to a point where all of a sudden my body just realized, like, all right, we're doing this. We're good. And, like, it just adjusted, you know?
That's so crazy. It's so crazy that your mind, after a while, that becomes the norm of understanding, like, hey, fight, and this is the willpower that we're going to instill, and everything that comes through you is just going to go ahead and just subside, no matter what.
Yeah, right, yeah. You know, and then to your other point about the energy in the room and stuff, you know, it's like everywhere on social media you see, like, good vibes only and shit like that. But that shit's real, man. Like, I don't think enough people they don't guard their energy enough. They don't, like, protect their energy. I remember on Wednesday, every morning I go to Starbucks and I write for a couple hours in the morning before work. And I was in there writing, and this guy's in there, and he's bitching to his friend about Amazon. Like, I don't even know why, but, like, it was, you know, when you see those people that something's always wrong and they are not going to be happy until they fucking tell every single human about this injustice that they've had happen to them, right? And it was crazy because his friend's, like, kind of laughing, and this guy's getting more mad. He's like, no, it's not fucking funny. And he's, like, getting more angry. And everybody that was around him, like, you could just see, it was like looking at the energy in this room just fall apart. Like, people were just, like, people were leaving, and it, you know, just from one guy, like, bitching and moaning, and it's like, I was like, get me away from this. Like, this is toxic. Like, you can just tell, you know what I mean? And I don't think enough people, you know, put themselves around people with good energy like that, and they don't try to foster it for themselves. And that shit matters, man. Like, this dude was bringing my day down hard, and I wasn't even having the conversation with him. I was just like, get out of here. Maybe I'm just more receptive to it because I think about it a lot and I write about it, but it's like, that shit's real, man. The energy you bring to a situation matters immensely.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if you go into something with the energy of, like, just a negative type of energy, dude, you're going to experience that for a very long fucking time until you realize, like, hey, I can change and control my energy of what I'm putting out right now, and let's go ahead and fucking fix this because this is not working for me right now.
Yeah, right. And then
to also, like, to notice that it's affecting everyone else around you. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like, you know, some people are just, they're so self-centered, so caught up in their own shit, they can't even realize that they're essentially just, like, fucking showering bad vibes all over the coffee shop.
So then that goes into this realm of here, right, of, like, really thinking about this. Like, when we think about quitting and why we would quit, you know, what is, you know, everyone talks about why they're quitting, but how about we end up start talking about, like, why not to quit, right? Because that's what we also miss is, like, well, why would you want to quit for when, like, What's the pros and cons of quitting? Like, I really believe that, right? Like, if you're going to fucking quit right now, put it out on the line. What is the pros of quitting for you right now? And so why are you going to quit? Okay, these are the reasons why. And then what are the pros of not quitting, right? Oh, you get to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you get to create an experience, and then you get to talk about it, and you get to be able to stand there with confidence. All the things that you're fucking trying to do right there and then, you end up getting to fucking show that you can do it because you didn't quit, compared to like, oh, cool, I'm doing this because I want to build confidence for myself. I'm doing this because I want to go and complete A, B, C, or D, or whatever else we want. Well, guess what? If you quit, you don't accomplish any of those things. And guess where? You go right back to the exact same fucking position you were at before even signing up. And I'm pretty sure you didn't train or put yourself into like getting yourself in that position to be able to be successful. You decided to, I'm just going to see what happens. Right? So I really do believe that also, right? It's like you have to plan and you have to put yourself in a position that's going to go ahead and put you in a percentile of success rate compared to failure rate.
Yeah, and I think that you have to, I think that what you're saying right there, like for me, that's the importance of making whatever thing we're talking about doing, whatever hard thing you're doing that you're trying not to quit or whatever, making that align with your bigger purpose as a whole, right? Because then you have a reason not to quit because it fits in with what you want. It's more in alignment with what you want for yourself. And that's another thing I talked about in the last podcast. But, you know, one of my missions in life is to be an example for what's possible, for what humans are capable of. That's what I want my life to be about for those around me, right? So putting the 200 in through that filter, when I did the 200, I was in such alignment with it that it was like perfect. There was no way I was going to quit because I'm literally fulfilling my life's mission by completing this. You know, the universe just tossed up a softball. All I got to do is fucking not quit, and I hit it out of the park. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And coming to that mindset to where what you're doing is in a greater alignment with what you want for your life, it really, really does help not quitting. Yeah.
It's one of those things, man. I don't understand it. Like, and maybe it's because I've never been in a position to like where I think about quitting. Yeah. I think it's more of a fear for me. I'm a fear of quitting. Is what scares me, because of the fact of like it's no longer about me. Like if I quit, like yeah, it's on me, but how many people do I fucking let down around me?
Yeah.
How many people like sacrifice for me and help me do things and help me get to where I'm at today, right? Like it's not always about me, because this is not about me, right? It's about like those who really truly believe in me. The circle that you put yourself in, letting them down, right? You're literally letting somebody down. Like you've said it before in the show before, you talked about it, right? What got me through the last part of that 200-mile race was the people that were there supporting me and getting me to where I needed to be by helping me do what I'm doing. The fact of quitting just was not a situation because of the fact that I had other people back there waiting for me or up all night waiting for me doing things. Like I can't quit.
Right. Yeah, for sure. That definitely matters. I think also, too, you know, you were talking about that, like putting yourself around people, like you're that kind of person that doesn't quit. And then you want to put yourself around people, like maybe it's because of the military or whatever, but I don't want to be anywhere near a fucking quitter. Like,
see, like, and that's funny is like I've seen, and I guess I don't have anybody in my life either that are quitters either. I think I have people in my life who have looked at life in a different way to where they're kind of, you know, like, oh, I can go ahead and take this and be a smart approach in quitting instead,
mm-hmm.
or let's say DOR or did not finish or anything you want to think, any of those, any word, any kind of special word for quitting you want to fucking use it. I put myself around people who have done it due to the fact of being smart, right? Life purposes, health purposes.
For sure.
And it's funny, and we've talked about this, right? I'm going to continue burning down the bridge, right? Like, and I'm not going to lie to you, when I go into like a big event, a high risk event, my number one goal is not to die.
Right.
Right. My second goal is to go ahead and have fun and finish the race. Number 3 is don't get injured.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I can hit all 3 of those things, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. Now let's like when I start getting into a realm of like, all right, I'm going to continue going to this. And then all of a sudden now, if they're telling me that if I keep going that I have a possibility of dying, and then that's when I got to look at it and be like, okay, what is my why and what am I doing right here? And we talked about this plenty before, right? I sit back and be like, man, like, is this currently worth it? Like to go ahead and push that hard, or is it okay to quit right now to fight another day? Because realistically, like, hey, I'm a father of 2 daughters, you know, this and that. And, you know, like, is it okay to do that so I can come back and show like, hey, I was just being smart, right? Because there's a difference between being smart and being stupid when it comes to quitting.
Yeah. There is, and you know, there's another dynamic at play here too, because nothing in life is black and white, right? It's like you're a quitter, fuck you. It's not like that, right? there are levels to this shit, right? There always are. There are layers that you have to look at. And, I can think of, sometimes what I've seen happen is it gets really tough and somebody has a temporary moment of weakness and they quit or they quit on themselves, and that becomes such an intense learning experience, right? And they become such a different human after that, or maybe they become the person that doesn't quit after that. Like, everybody's figuring this life thing out at our own pace, right? So, I mean, I don't mean to sound like I'm on my ivory tower, like, don't fucking quit. I can think of 2 times in my life where I quit on myself, where I could have gone harder, and I literally let fatigue turn me into a coward. I remember both of those, and they're like seared in my fucking head. And they were both really important lessons, because I know that I did not like who I had to look at in the mirror after that. And now that's a moment that I will have with me forever. And every time something gets hard, I remember that moment, and I'm never fucking going back there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. Dude, this kind of goes into the realm of too, of like, a lot of things for me when I look at the realm of like quitting is the fact of seeing those around me who have quit, and then seeing the reaction and of their action of quitting, right? At the same time, seeing those who fight to the end and learning the aspect of willpower, right? I can just look at it like, I have buddies who've taken their lives, right? That's quitting. And then seeing that right there and then, and see how fucked up it hurts everyone else around them for just quitting. And you're like, man, like, I don't like making people fucking feel sad, and I don't like making people I don't like making people cry. I don't like seeing any of these things at all, right? So I'm going to do the best of my ability possible and not to put someone in that situation, right? Because it does hurt, dude. Like that, like, all of a sudden I quit now. All of a sudden I go ahead and see someone now crying or upset because I quit. And then now I go in and look from there. And then it's all of a sudden now it's just this trickling effect of just always being sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, look, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, it's hard if you start talking about suicide. Like, that's a different topic. But
there's
like,
so many layers
to that as well.
There is also, right? But that's also quitting, though.
Right. And so I think what I'm saying is, I think I agree with you completely. Like, when I've even considered quitting, I've often thought about how it would make the people around me feel. That even when I was in training, I remember, like, dude, I cannot go home and tell my mom I'm a fucking quitter. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, and whether that's misguided pride or not, I was just like, I can't have her think her son's a quitter. Like, that's just so important to me. And so I think that's another aspect, right? When you start to do something really hard in life, it's like, not only think about why you started and why you want this for the bigger picture of your life and why you're not going to quit, but then also think about what it's going to mean to people around you. Because, dude, when you go after something in life and it's really fucking hard and you get through it, there's a ripple effect that takes place. That's why I love these really hard endurance events for raising money and stuff, because when you just go after whatever you want in life, it just fucking fires other people up. Just by you going all in on what you want, you doing something cool that means something to you, it actually, you don't understand how much that could mean to somebody else. And that's what I noticed when I did that 200. So many people reached out to me like, oh my God, I can't believe this, and you ran this, and you're inspiring me to do this, and I want to run a marathon. It's like, dude, you have the dream in your heart, you fucking go for it. And that's your job, right? That's your part of this whole universe thing. And then everybody around you is going to be inspired simply because you're going after it.
Yeah. I'm one of those people, right? Like, I didn't get into this until after I heard you talking about fucking 200-mile races, and now I'm looking at like trying to do not even completed or started a 100-mile fucking Kodiak race yet, and I'm already looking at Bigfoot 200 next year.
Yeah.
Like looking at all those kinds of things, it's just that's what you've done, right? But then at that realm, you found an external, like, you've put out this external idea of inspiration and really helping people because you don't want them to live that lifestyle of quitting or not put in that position to embrace it. But now it's like, now it's on me. Like, now I have to find like my why in not quitting, right? Or finding the reasons why I should not quit and why I should complete this, and utilize my own willpower to go ahead and complete it now.
Yeah, and we're talking about, because endurance is sort of the thing we've been drawn to in the last couple of years. But like, I'm of the firm believer that this shit transcends to everything you do, like whether it's fucking law school, med school, nursing school, a trade school. Like there's, anything that you want to do in life is going to require something of you, some kind of time commitment. And that's what I said in the last podcast. It's like you're making a deal with the future self. That's what you're sacrificing, right? And you're making a deal because the person that you want to be in the future is going to be different, and so you sacrifice something in order to get there. When you sacrifice shit and you get through something really hard, whether that's law school or med school, or you get high up in your career or whatever it is, that shit inspires people straight up.
Yeah, and so like that's another reason why not to quit for something, right? Like you're sitting there, and no matter who you are, what you do, it could be a fucking spelling bee. Like I look at kids who do spelling bees and people who do I look at some people who do some random ass things out there, and I'm like, that's fucking badass. I wish I could do that, or like I get inspired by them being like, man, these guys are working a whole different realm, and it's transcending, right, from like our endurance aspect and stuff like that into like, okay, cool, everyday life. And it's just like, it's amazing to see that we're able to feed off energy like that.
Yeah.
Right? I can feed off energy off of some random fucking topic and utilize that as energy for me to go ahead and keep me moving forward and not quit.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I mean. It like transcends, like you go after what it is you want, and you're going to inspire, tons of people. I mean, I don't know. I think maybe I just love the struggle. Like, I don't really know why I seem to want to do all these really hard things, but like, writing a book was just as hard as running a 200 miler in a completely different way, but it was so fucking hard, like so tedious, so time consuming, and I'm doing it again. But like, so that's what I mean. Like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. This shit transcends. Like, this shit matters.
So how do you find it? How do you find those things so you don't quit? Like, what helps you drive it? Is it individual? It's individual based, obviously, right? Like, we know, like, you have to find that. But, how do you find it? Where do you put yourself in stressful situations? Do you put you in places where you slowly chip away and build this idea of like a never quitting idea to where it becomes a healthy lifestyle instead of a negative impact on your life?
Well, that's funny because that's the talk I'm giving right now. Like that I just kind of, I just gave it for the second time the other day. But it's like you got to find your struggle. Like you got to find a worthy struggle, right? Because everything for me, if I were to try to go to law school, like that wouldn't be my worthy struggle because it doesn't align with my mission in life. It doesn't, I don't want to be a lawyer. Do you know what I mean? And so for me, that struggle would not be worth it, and I would end up quitting, right? So I think for you, whatever it is, you need to find your struggle. Like you need to find the thing that you need to do that's going to get you to where the human that you want to be. And that could be different for everybody. Like writing a book is a worthy struggle for me. You know what I mean? Running 200 miles is a worthy struggle for me. And I think that everybody has to find theirs. And I think that is how you don't quit. Like, I think that's how you do these really cool, epic things in life.
So another question to that, though, do you always have things in your life that you struggle for, or should you have things in your life that you're also somewhat comfortable with, along with some struggle in there?
There's been so many times where I look around and I'm like, could it just be fucking easy for 2 seconds? I don't know, man. I might be a masochist. I might be addicted to the struggle. I honestly don't know. It's like we were saying, I'm getting out of the Navy and I've been offered a ton of really high-paying good jobs, and I haven't taken any of them because I'm like, nope, I guess I just want to struggle. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Well, the same thing with me, right?
The life I want requires this struggle, and so I'm fucking going in on it. Like, it is what it is. I don't know, man. I hope some things get easy at some point.
Well, that's the thing, though, too. It goes into the whole idea of, like, after I got out of the military, like, the first thing I remember sitting down in my CO's office when I, like, was telling him I was getting out of the military, and he was signing my paperwork. He's like, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do in the civilian world? I was like, I'm going to go to my own gym and do that for a living. And he was like, oh, sure, that's going to happen. It's like, I wish I could see him now and be like, look, motherfucker, what's up, Yeah. But the struggle behind that, dude, was fucking miserable. It was hard, right? The sacrifice that I made behind that, right? Like, I had a new kid coming. I had my youngest daughter coming, and those things were super, super hard to be able to tell her. Like, I had to walk away from, because I had to focus on sacrificing myself so I could become in a realm of like where I wanted to do and what I wanted to do with my life and be able to make those things happen. And then from there, I continued struggling, right? Like, I didn't make a legit paycheck until literally this year in 2018. Like, I didn't know what a W-2 form was or income tax was for 4 years, like, but that was a struggle that was worthwhile. And right, like, and I was struggled in that realm there. And now I got out of that realm, and now I'm in another realm of learning how to struggle in new places because it makes me uncomfortable and makes me happy. And I think a lot of it has to do with me just getting bored, dude. If I get fucking bored, it's a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm a firm believer that everybody knows what's best for them deep down. We don't always listen, and we don't always ask ourselves. You know, we don't ask ourselves the tough questions, and we definitely don't always answer them. But I think that if you really are completely honest with yourself, you know what's right for you. You know the direction you should go. And so for you, like, that was a worthwhile struggle. Like, you found your worthy struggle, and you knew deep down for you that was the deal. And look, maybe, yeah, I think as long as you're always operating out of alignment like that, you're always asking yourself the tough questions, you're always trying to fit it into your bigger purpose to make sure that you're living, you know, an authentic life like we talked about in the last show. I think if you're always doing that, you're going to be okay, because maybe it is that the thing that you want to do doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But maybe the process is such an epic adventure that it's completely worth it. Maybe you're going to learn something that the next thing that you do, you're going to be able to apply that. Maybe the person you're becoming is so much better just because you're willing to take on these struggles.
Yeah, dude. And that's another big thing too, right? So like not quitting, like a big reason of not quitting, right, creates experiences and it creates a new person. And you get to use those experiences from not quitting and now put them into a new realm of being able to, when you're in a different struggle, you have now just created this, you just added another tool to the toolbox for you not to quit, right? So like that's something that I really believe, right? Like as we go through struggles and as we put ourselves in uncomfortable positions and we put ourselves in being like, for instance, like I heard a lady in the restaurant this morning, she goes, you know, I don't want to work a 9-to-5 job. I want to go do that. And like I slowly walked by and I was walking by and I just told myself in this, I was like, so don't do it. Like that was just my response.
Nice.
It was like, and I was like, oh shit, like what am I doing? Like I shouldn't be doing this out loud.
Yeah.
But it goes back to the whole idea, dude, of like, you know, you're only going to be successful if you put yourself in an uncomfortable position and you're okay with the struggle. If you want to continue growing, right? If we go ahead and look at this and be like, if you don't want to grow and you want to be okay with your life and where you're at, and people are okay with that, right? They understand that. That's fucking cool. But like, if you notice yourself are starting to fucking quit way too much, you have to reevaluate what you're doing and figure out like what is the why behind what I'm doing and what is it that makes me go ahead and drive to enjoy that.
Yeah, and you know, I think maybe it's because I'm cerebral and I think about shit too much, but I've been like really paying attention to interactions I have with people lately, and trying to like kind of meet people where they're at, like in coffee shops and whatever, just talking to them about life and just sort of asking deeper questions that sometimes if you're not ready for it, make people like kind of uncomfortable because they're like, whoa. But I think that so many people are fucking tired and bored, man.
Yeah.
I just look around, I've had so many conversations with people and I keep asking myself, like, why the fuck is everybody so bored? Like, people don't seem to love their life. And like, fuck that. We're only here for so long, man. And, you know, that's nothing new. I'm not saying anything new, but it's like, I don't know. It's the idea of spending it bored is like, fuck that. You got to do what's, you know, but the thing is, what I think it is that, you know, if you are really honest with yourself about what you want, there's a lot of built-in struggle that's going to be required of you to get there. And then that process makes people want to turn around and cower back to maybe a 9-to-5 life, or maybe, you know, whatever it is, whatever that safe option is for you. You know, I know that's the case with me. Like, even though I made this decision, I'm like, I'm living authentically, I'm found my struggle, I'm doing the thing, I still have like such a big part of me that wants to just cower back and be like, just take a job, dude. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, so, I mean, it's hard, but I think it has to do with, like, you got to find something for you that's worth not fucking quitting in the first place.
Yeah. So that one thing is bored, right? And then the other idea that I look at when I don't think about quitting is like, I've already come this far. Like, why the fuck am I going to give up now? Yeah,
it's like that. I didn't come this far only to come this far. Right?
Yeah, like, it's like, that's kind of the idea. Like, for instance, like yesterday, dude, yesterday was a gnarly day for some reason. Just everything hurt. My mind was just all kinds of fucked up after the like just a big week. I put in like 80 miles for the week, and it's just, you know, the last big day was a 5K vert day with fucking 20 miles, and I'm just like, fuck, dude, like. And I remember getting down that into the canyon. We went from like 7K down to 4K in 7 miles, bro. And then I had to climb back up from 4K up to 7K within 3 miles, and a little bit less than that. And your face is like, God damn.
Yeah, dude. Are you lifting through this big mileage weeks like that?
No, bro. Everything's like with a TheraBand and like core work and supplemental work. Yeah, there's. That's when the goal is when I complete this goal, the goal will come and talk about all about how I'm approaching the whole fucking apex style of train for a 100-mile race, because let's just be real here.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah. So like now I got to climb up this fucking mountain, and I'm just like, dude, what? Like my legs hurt, dude. My legs are like, I every step I take, I'm just like, I don't think I have any juice in them, you know. And one thing I realized is like, okay, like I can either fucking stop here and quit, right, and just be like, all right, cool, like whatever else, and like hope for someone to come get me, because they're probably not gonna fucking come get me in the middle of this mountain that's fucking, you know, this far down.
Right.
Or I can just go ahead and slow down, take a break, regather myself, and then keep moving forward. And I think I did that twice yesterday. I literally sat on a rock for the side, and I sat there for about 2 minutes, and I like closed my eyes, and I'm like, slow down, regroup. All right, cool, like you're fine. It's gonna be okay. Just keep moving fucking forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. That right there, dude, I really believe that, you know, taking that time to just slow down and time to just kind of like just bring everything back to perspective and being like, all right, cool, like I'm breathing, my legs are here, like I'm okay. Let me just take in some of the scenery. Let me just kind of get my mind off that fucking stressor. Let me get the mind, like, let me stop that trauma like we talked about the last show, you know, just stop it a little bit and go ahead and go somewhere else, and kind of get me back into a state of, again, positive energy to kind of get me out of that spiral of, man, fuck this.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to, man. You give yourself a little perspective sometimes, you know. But I don't know on this show if I've told the Percocet story with the bartender. Maybe I've told you before or whatever. But all right, so you know, a lot of people look at ultra runners, and again, this just because this is kind of my thing at the moment. But you could apply this to anything. But they'll be like, oh, all that running's bad for you, right? It's like I hear it all the time. Like, you're running too much. It's not good for you. I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. But when last year I was in West Virginia, and I was on a ski trip for New Year's, and I was talking to the bartender, and he was like, hey, do you mind if I slip out back real quick? I got to take a Percocet. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't care. So he went back and took it, came back out, and I started talking to him, and he's like, yeah, I've been standing for 4 or 5 hours already, and I got another 2 hours, so I got to take a Percocet because my knees and shit hurt if I stand there. And it was another one of those moments where it hit me. It was like, okay, holy fuck. So nobody gets out of this life without pain and struggle. We all have pain and struggle. You're going to be in pain no matter what you do. What I love about running is that I get to choose the pain. I get to go find the pain on its terms, on my fucking terms. You know what I mean? And because of that, I'll never have to take a Percocet to stand for 5 hours.
No shit. Yeah.
Right? Like, so that is the deal. Like, that's why it's a worthy struggle for me. Like, and I think that, you know, we end up like avoiding stuff that hurts or that we don't want to do, or we quit things that are really hard just to cower back. But when we think what we're doing is we're avoiding pain, but we're not. We're just creating a different kind of pain. And so maybe it will be the pain of regret and the life you could have had, or maybe, you know, you're sedentary, so you're not going through pain in the mountains like I am almost every fucking weekend, or you are. But maybe your pain is going to be when you have to work a double and your knees and ankles are wrecked because they're not able to handle it. Do you know what I mean? And so,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm sending the point home enough, but it's like this idea that nobody gets out of this fucking life without pain, man. You can choose to go find it on your terms, or it can come find you. But one way or another, we're all gonna suffer.
It's gonna find you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, though, right? And like, this goes to a quote I have it tattooed on my arm. I go by the quote of risk everything, regret nothing. And I live by that, right? Just risk everything and regret nothing. And hopefully this hammers the nail home now, is because of the fact that, right, like, so that guy you're talking about is like, he's not out risking anything or doing anything, but he's getting this pain from not doing that. Like you just mentioned, right?
Right.
Now you're risking your time and all that good stuff to put yourself in a position of pain to where now when you have to go and stand for 9 hours at a double, you can handle that pain because you've experienced it in a different realm, because you're willing to risk it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, risk everything, regret nothing.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you now, he's probably thinking to himself, like, man, I probably should have gone and worked out I should have been working out
for 40 years. Yeah.
For 40 years or something like that, so that I could fucking handle this, right?
Right.
Like, I never want to be in a position where I have to regret it.
Right. So let me ask you this, man. I think for people that are listening to this, because I know, like, I'm not making this up. People are fucking tired and bored with their lives. If you're somebody that's listening to this and you're really honest with yourself and you think maybe I am fucking bored with my life, where does somebody begin to start figuring out what to risk, how to find their struggle, how to kind of go toward these kind of things?
Dude, that's a great question, and I think I had to put myself in an uncomfortable. For me, putting myself in uncomfortable positions is what makes it all worthwhile and get me out of that realm of being bored. Right? Like if I get comfortable and if I get in a position where I'm really bored, dude, and like I need to change it, I need to go find something that's going to go ahead and challenge me. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why even now, like without getting bored, I still do it, because I know if I'm not being challenged, I'm going to go ahead and be bored somehow, some way. Right? We talked about, we just live in life and struggle, right? We like struggling. We like to have our day fucking jam packed, and we like to be able to like work and get ourselves and still go out and do all these cool things. Is due to the fact because I like just being uncomfortable and it's enjoyable. So if you are bored and you are looking for a outlet for it, put yourself in an uncomfortable position. Go find an uncomfortable event. Go do something that you've always been afraid of doing. Mm-hmm. You know, for example, I see it all the time. People are like, man, I've never run a 5K before. Well, go fucking run a 5K. Go do it. I've never done a powerlifting meet. Well, go fucking do it. I've never rolled a roller coaster. Well, go ride that roller coaster. I've never gone skydiving. Well, go jump out of the fucking airplane. Put yourself in an uncomfortable position, and when you get done with the uncomfortable position, see how much it fucking changed your life. It could be a minute, it could be 2 minutes, it could be 12 hours, however you want to do it. But I guarantee you experience an uncomfortable event. When you're bored, you're gonna go ahead and realize like, oh shit, like I have control of being bored and not being bored. And you know what? Let me go ahead and put myself in an uncomfortable position. And you never know, it might lead you to a place of happiness if you are also fucking unhappy. Yeah. We see people all the time. I see people who've gone skydiving and doing tandem skydives. All of a sudden now you look at them 2 months later and they're fucking have an A license and free falling by themselves now, right? Like, because it's an uncomfortable, they like enjoying, they like the risk of it, right? They're risking it all and regretting none of that. So that's my answer. Put yourself in an uncomfortable position. How about you?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I wrote an entire book about it, right? This idea that we literally, we think being comfortable is being happy, and those two things aren't fucking related almost at all. Like you can be completely happy and content and be very uncomfortable. The other thing too that I hear a lot, and this is something worth noting, it's like, because you were saying, like, run a fucking 5K, jump out of an airplane, do the thing, right? And that's why I'm always tell people to, like, I think a bucket list is such a good idea. It's something, but it shouldn't be a list that just stays on your computer or on your iPhone or in paper, right? Like, die with memories, not fucking dreams. But I think that sometimes there's a propensity for people to want to do these big things, but then they're like, they feel overwhelmed. And, something to think about is, like, in 2018, there's a fucking coach for everything. Like, you can just do it. Like, stop, all the time I remember, every time I talk about a marathon or something around somebody, I always hear somebody say, like, oh, I could never run a marathon. I'm like, yes, you fucking could. Like, what do you mean I could never? Like, yes, you're a human. You evolved to get here. We ran. Like, yes, you could. I'm telling you, I've coached, like, 10 chicks this year to run their first marathon, and they weren't even runners before that. There are coaches that will get you to the place that you want to be if you really want to do something. Or if it's not coaches, it's resources. There are books about this. Skydiving's an easy one. Someone will just, strap you to their stomach and jump. But, like, all of these things, like, there are ways to get what you want. And because it's 2018 and there are so many resources, because technology is so prevalent, everything is so open source, there's so many conversations taking place, you actually have no excuse anymore to not do any of the things in life that you don't want to do or that you want to do. Correct.
Yeah. And this leads me into this too, dude. We talk about the bucket list because you've been saying that like crazy. Create and I don't know, maybe this is a little too much, but I me fucking all in. Create a bucket list, daily, weekly, monthly, 3 month, 6 month, a year, and then your life bucket list. Like, create a bucket list for every single one of those things and try and accomplish them. Right? Put yourself in those uncomfortable positions for a daily thing. And maybe daily is a little too much. Like, maybe it is. Maybe it is a little too much. Who fucking knows? Like, I was trying to think of myself today. Like, did I put myself in an uncomfortable position? It's like, yeah, I did. I put my daughter in a kayak with fucking a life vest, and I'm like, I'm the one controlling her life if I flip this motherfucker. So that's my uncomfortable position for the day, right? Come out of it. She's fine. Everything else like that. I'm having a good day for the day. And then weekly, right? Like, my weekly uncomfortable aspect of my bucket list for the week is trying to get 90 miles in for the week. and still manage getting all my fucking work done and still be able to be a fucking awesome dad and still be able to do all those things. Like, that's my weekly bucket list, right? Like, living in that. And then monthly, okay, cool. Well, the month's getting ready to be over, and I've done multiple things already that put me in uncomfortable positions, right? And then we can go in and look now, all right, what's August bring me? Oh, whoa, August is my 100-mile race. Like, that's my biggest fucking uncomfortable position of that time period. And then we can go and look at 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and then you can have your life bucket list where you want to, check things off. Because why? You're always working towards something. You're always putting yourself in a realm of where now I've just created more experience. I've created more tools to where I don't have a reason to fucking quit in anything I do in life that approaches me.
Mm. Yeah, I was talking to, one of the things I remember talking to Brian McKenzie on when I had him on LionHeart radio show. He said, because I was like, man, he's always this guy. For you guys that don't know, Brian McKenzie, CrossFit Endurance, Power Speed Endurance now, all that stuff. I'm like, he's always finding new pursuits. He's always like finding these sort of really original ideas and like delivering a lot of value around him. And one of the things he said, he's like, him and his wife, Erin, she was an Olympic rower. Me and Erin, I had her on the show too. He's like, I think he's like every 6 months, we just try to make ourselves so uncomfortable. Like, we think about the thing we don't want to do and we face it. And I was like, he's like, and it's not fucking easy. Like, it sounds good in theory, but it sucks. Like, you're scared all the time. He's like, but it's so necessary for growth. And
that's huge.
Yeah, I remember thinking, like, damn, like, what am I doing right now that's making me really uncomfortable? And a lot of times we don't do those things in life. We just don't.
Yeah, 100%, dude. No, I couldn't agree with you on that, man. I mean, I think that leads us into the whole idea of like, hey, this is why not to quit, right? Because you get to experience these whole new uncomfortable situations that are all going to make you grow. And if you just push just the tip a little bit and pull yourself out, we all know how that feels.
Right, we do. But yeah. I think before we wrap up, too, I want to give a quick shout out. So the guy, Jeremiah, that gave us this idea for the show idea, he this weekend did a 50-mile ruck to raise money for Gold Star Teen Adventures, the same group I'm raising money for with my run. And I was talking to him about it, and his entire team quit around him. So he had to finish that bitch by himself. So they quit at some point, I guess, early morning, late night, and he had to just do it by himself. So shout out to that motherfucker.
That dude's a hard motherfucker for sure.
Find some friends that aren't bitch made. Can't be having friends quit like that on you. That's bullshit.
No shit. But yeah, congratulations to that dude, man. I'm super pumped. He's actually going to be coming out for my 100-mile race and help crewing. So I'm excited to have him out there for sure because I know he's going to be an extra person, not let me quit. Yeah. So
nice one.
It's going to be a good time, bro. So, I mean, that's it, dude. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. The feedback has been fucking awesome. I'm not gonna lie to everyone right now. Like, when me and Rick started talking about doing this, it was kind of one of those things where it was just, I guess, a sense of therapy for the two of us. Us talking to each other and doing that, and like notice that we're sharing things with each other, and we're like, man, maybe hopefully other people can value from this, and that's what's happening. People are valuing from it, and I'm inspired by those who are getting the value from this content that we're putting out. So thank you guys deeply and greatly. The support has been huge for me. I know that for a fact, and I know that for Rick too. Yeah, for sure. And if you guys are digging this show, like, literally the best thing you can do for us is just share it. Like, tell somebody else you think might dig it. Share it on your Instagram story, Facebook, whatever the hell you do. But if you're into it, like, if you could share it, we'd appreciate it. Yeah, and another thing too, guys, also, one thing, me and Rick, we are doing the content behind this and really trying to, like, find what to talk about. So if you guys want us to kind of dive deep into something or talk about something, please put it out and reach it out to us. Like I said, we throw it in, like Jeremiah did it today for us. And, from there, we've been able to come out and put this out for you guys. So if you guys have something you guys want us to talk about, mention, or just cover the wave tops on, we're more than happy to do it for sure. For sure. Thanks, brother. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to LionHeart Radio. I hope that the information from today's show will make you fitter, happier, and healthier. For the show notes of this episode and every episode, head to www.lionheartrad.io. Yep, just like LionHeart Radio. And please, if you have the time, head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us to know that we're on the right track and delivering you reliable information and value. As always, feedback is welcomed. If you have any comments on the show or would like to suggest a guest, send me an email at rick@luavive.com. That's LUAVIVE.com.
LionHeart.com. Thanks for your support, and we will see you next time.
Bitch, I feel good. Don't I look stupendous? My shine is so endless, and shit you can do to end this. Even when I'm dead, niggas still gon' bump that chip shit. Coke white, Escalade on cinches for you dipshit. So you won't forget this. Midwest nigga be the coldest. Cleveland.